So this is a program. I know I hear it's snowing there. Here it's nice. You can't really tell, but the weather is actually quite nice out, even though it's early evening. It's 8 o'clock at night near Florence. I'd like to talk to you about one of the options, as you know, that you have as a student of UB, and that option is to study abroad at Istituto Lorenzo de Medici in Italy, and in two campuses, which we'll talk about in a bit, in Florence and in Tuscania. A little bit about LDM. So LDM is an institution that's been around for over 45 years. And what's interesting, and a lot of people don't know about the history of LDM with SUNY, is yes, it's 45 years plus that LDM has been around, but it actually has been working with SUNY since about, I would say, early to mid 80s. So we've been hosting SUNY students for a very, very long time. And the plus of being an institution that has been around that long, other than working well with institutions in places around the world, but especially in the United States, is that it has very strong roots in the places they're in. So it started in Florence, as I said, 45 years ago. Well, within those 45 years, we've established quite a presence in Italy and in Florence, and a relationship with the town itself. What does that mean? We have a relationship with the people, with the different businesses, with the government, with all of these areas, which translates into being able to work with different entities through our internships, volunteer programs, and that's really important. The other important thing about that relationship is that when we opened the Tuscania campus, which is much younger as far as the campus is concerned, I think it opened in 2005 or 2006. That knowing what a job and what a history it had in Florence, we were able to replicate that in Tuscania in record amount of time. So having a very deep relationship with that town as well. And so that's very important because it gives you the possibility of having more opportunities while you're in either Florence or Tuscania, or in both. Now, Florence and Tuscania, I want to explain these two campuses and where we are in Italy. So a lot of you might know Florence because, as you can see from the map, it's in Tuscany, correct? You see the little red dot. And whereas Tuscania, just to make things confusing, is actually not in Tuscany, it's in the Lazio region, which is the same region as Rome. So Rome is the capital of the Lazio region, and Florence is the capital of Tuscany, okay, the Tuscan region. So it's not in Tuscania, Tuscania is not in Tuscany, it's in the Lazio area. Now, to talk about Florence for a moment, you've probably seen pictures and seen it in films. Florence is a very special city from so many points of view. First of all, I always say it's the ideal city for a study abroad experience. Why? Because it has a very dynamic big city feel. I think of Florence as a European/Italian city. It definitely holds, its Italian roots and traditions of that area, but it's also very much a European city, meaning it's very cosmopolitan. It's maybe, I believe, the city where most foreigners choose to live in Italy. So it's a very, very dynamic atmosphere. And if all you have to do is get out of the train or land at the airport, and you immediately see that. It's very apparent that it's international, that it is dynamic, that it's cosmopolitan. But unlike, let's say, New York, which I'm from, if you can't tell from my heavy New York or Staten Island accent, unlike in New York, it's actually geographically small, which means that it's not overwhelming. as much as it's a city that's full of all of these aspects that big cities have, it's actually geographically small. So students get to know Florence in a very short amount of time, and they get to feel like they're in their home city, in their second home in a very short amount of time, which is great because even for students who stay a year, never mind a semester or a short term, it really isn't that long. I know it seems a lot to a student, but it isn't. So the fact that you can get to know a city well in a small amount of times means that your ability to acclimate to where you are and to enjoy it is actually quite fast, all things considered. Now, Tuscania is different. Tuscania is a small Italian town, but I'd also like to to explain a little bit about that as well. Coming from the US, a small town to me means not Buffalo, but it means if you're in New York State, some of these small towns outside, right, upstate. So, which are beautiful because they have a lot of, it's a very rural community that you're in, but usually they don't have a strong urban center. That's not the case in Italy. It's not certainly the case for Tuscania, and it's usually not the case in most of Europe. So even though Tuscania is a small Italian town, it has a strong urban center, which means it has piazzas, has cafes, it has a theater, restaurants, a short bus ride or train ride, you're in Rome. So it's not completely rural, even though it's immersed in a beautiful rural setting, because there is this real urban structure. So you won't be sort of lost in a field, I want to say. It's a very different reality for a small town like Tuscania versus a small town in the US. In both places, the school is located in the city. So in the historic center of Tuscania, within the old walls, and in the center, in the heart of Florence. And we have different, I believe, 13 buildings in Florence alone. It's one building in Tuscania that are in different neighborhoods of Florence. The reason why we are set up that way is the idea is not for you to be on a campus that is sort of separated from the city, but it's because the city is meant to be your campus. While you're there, you should be living the city as much as possible, whether it's going to school or whether it's your housing or anything else. So I kind of equate it to, if you're familiar with New York, if you're going to a city campus like an NYU or a Hunter, a CUNY Hunter, or something that's in the center of the city, you're in the cityscape. And that to me is, in my opinion, but of course in LDM's philosophy, is extremely important. So for the next slide, I want to talk about the different opportunities you have. So to come, another nice aspect of the programs at Lorenzo de Medici. Well, first of all, I do want to say that the main requirement at LDM to take courses is that you are able to speak English. Because all the courses are taught in English except for Italian language. So you don't have to be shy or worry about coming to LDM if you don't know Italian, because you'll be among many. We sincerely hope you pick it up and that you learn something, because that would be fantastic, but that should not worry you. And in both places, whether you're in Tuscania or in Florence, first of all, in Florence, unfortunately, whether it's a broken English or not, you get away with English much too quickly. So it's important for you to really try to speak Italian and to use all of the programs and opportunities that LDM has in place to connect you to the community you're in. So the problem is certainly not a lack of English. If anything, it's the opposite. In Tuscania, there's less of an international community, although I've met at least some people that have actually retired and moved there from other countries, because it is quite spectacular. But what makes up for, let's say, a large amount of English-speaking population is that the people are much more slow paced, and they expect our students, and they really help them if they're struggling with the language, and they usually make quite a jump in learning Italian. So I say this because whichever place you go to, if you're nervous about Italian, do not be. I promise you that that will not be an issue. The only course that we teach in Italian is Italian language and Italian language and culture courses, which means at UB you have a wonderful Italian language department. And if you're taking Italian, you can take from, or you haven't taken it, you can take from the very basic at LDM to the very advanced. So the very advanced would mean that you would be taking courses that cover maybe some area of study in Italian, but it runs the gamut, again, from beginners to very advanced. All other courses would be in English. So going back to this slide, the nice thing about LDM is that it's in line academically as far as timing goes with the setup at UB. So your semesters, your fall and spring semester, which is compatible with UB, where you take 12 to 15 credits. Your short term in the summer, you have a June and July session. It actually starts usually end of May, and early July is the second session. There are 2 4-week sessions. Some actually opt to do both. Some only do one. If you do one, in each 4-week session, you can take from 3 to 6 credits. What that basically means is you can take one course or you can take 2 courses, depending on what your preference is. If you stay 2 sessions, because we've had students who would have really liked to have done a semester abroad, but for whatever reason that was a difficult option for them. Sometimes they have things they have to be at UB for, or they are involved in some sports team, whatever the case may be, but they want to stay longer. They can stay for 4 weeks and 4 weeks. And in between, there's a week that is a break. So it becomes a little closer to what a semester would look like. In that case, you can mix and match. And what I mean by that is you can do a June session and take 3 credits, and you can do a July session and take 3 credits, or you can take 6 credits and 6, or 3 and 6. So you can decide. Basically, you have the choice per 4-week session to take 3 or 6 credits, 1 or 2 classes. You can also do both summer sessions in one place, let's say in Florence or Tuscania, or you could do a summer session in Tuscania and a summer session in Florence. So you can play around with the short term a bit, which is kind of cool. Then we have the winter intersession. And as you know, as a US student, depending on the college you go to, even within the SUNY system, there are different dates for the winter intersession. And as of now, and for the past, since we started the relationship with UB, we happen to have a compatible winter intersession as well. So that's nice, because for the student who really cannot go for 4 weeks or cannot go for a semester, there's also that option. Or if they want to do that option in addition to another option, it's also an option. Technically it's 3 or 6 credits, but I don't remember if UB has a view on this. I tend to favor 3, not to be against our own interest, but I think that when you're there for a short amount of time, such as you are for January, it's still 3 weeks, it's still 20 days, so it's not bad, but you want to balance well give yourself the opportunity to do well in your academics, but also obviously, be able to explore the city you're in and the area you're in, to travel a bit on the weekend. So I tend to be pro 3 credit, but that's the January intersession. Then due to COVID, we developed last year a distance learning program, and we have it both for semester and for short term. So like, let's say for the summer or for the fall, or for now we're offering it. We had it fall, we had it in the spring. We're offering it for this summer and also fall 2021. The courses that are selected for the distance learning are looked at specifically to be, and you'll see in a minute in the following slides, good courses to offer online, so that the idea is they are give you as much as possible an international experience through distance learning. So that's on the table as well, as far as options are concerned. Now, this is just something that might interest you. Based on our database, we found that what the most popular LDM courses are. While I think it's interesting to look at this and to see that, art history, communication, Italian gastronomy, and culture all makes very much sense. Psychology, political science, which is what I studied abroad, creative writing, Italian, of course. By no means is there a limit to that. What often happens in different colleges and universities is that certain areas of study tend to study abroad more, and then by word of mouth, they tend to grow. So if you're in other areas of study, because certainly while these are very important subject areas for LDM, they're by no means the only areas. I think that, you should definitely look at the offering to see if there are offerings that fit your needs and your interest. Now, going back to the campuses we have, the Florence campus and the Tuscania campus. One of the missions of LDM is experiential learning. So we obviously, if you're abroad, we want you to be able to experience as much as possible and link as much as possible what Italy offers you in different realms of study. That's part of the point of studying abroad, right? So if you're, for example, studying art history, certainly it would be crazy not to be able to go and actually see what you're studying. And I can tell you, for example, in art history, I took art history as an elective because I studied abroad for over a year, a year of which I studied actually LDM many, many moons ago. And I took art history as an elective. Basically, I didn't want to leave. So I kept on looking for courses that I could use. And I said, well, if I'm going to have an elective and I'm in Florence, why not take art history? And it ended up being one of the most amazing classes I have ever taken. And I don't know that I would have chosen it back home, not because it's not a good course, but it might have not been on my radar. And so from that experience, I always tell students, if you're able to save electives, it's a great idea to save electives and take them abroad, because when you study abroad, regardless of where you study, there might be some really interesting classes that are especially great to take in wherever it is that you're studying abroad. Certainly art history is one of them, in Florence. Or we have, for example, anthropology, archaeology. We have archaeology restoration in Florence, because we have the lab and everything, but museums, but we also have archaeological field school that runs periodically throughout the years in Tuscania. Why? Because Tuscania is one of the most important cities for Etruscan ruins. So I say this because you will notice that while there's some overlap in some course areas, the courses that are offered in each campus depend greatly on what the resources are there and why they're important why it's a great course to take when you're there in that particular campus. And as I said, there are some overlaps because you are in Italy. There are some things like history and art, and art, studio art courses. There's a gastronomy. There's a lot of courses, Italian language, that certainly overlap in both, but there are some that are more unique to one rather than the other. So as you can see, our Florence campus is our largest, and we run the gamut of areas of study, and you can see all of them here. So it's hard not to find, I think, courses that could be related either to your major or that might be interesting to take again as an elective. And we have also, design, the creative arts, science and mathematics. So we have a nice range. In Tuscania, instead, As you can see under the liberal arts, there are quite a few that overlap, but there are also, as you can see, ancient studies, anthropology, environmental studies, geography, history, international business, literature, philosophy, psychology, religious studies, these overlap. But you'll see that sustainable Italy, environmental awareness, ecotourism, sustainable food, and the new global challenge are in Tuscania. Why? Because Tuscania offers students an opportunity. You can do this in Florence as well, but because you're in a town that is embedded in a rural area that, you know, has a strong agricultural background, a lot of these are chosen to, it's better, it gives you a great opportunity to take them in Tuscania. And you can see we have agricultural studies there, which for a reason. Gastronomy, of course, in both. We have the creative arts in both, and Italian language and Italian language. They're both great on both in both campuses, because whereas in Florence they have programs like what they call the tandem program, where they combine you with students so that you're able to talk to Italian students and you know, practice your Italian. Tuscania has the same, but it's sort of organic because the town adopts the students, and we are the only school in Tuscania, although there's a university town right next door. So it's not that there's no young people, but that allows for a very, very easy jump in Italian language. We've had a lot of students excel in Italian in Tuscania because of that. And we have internships in both sites. As I said earlier about the school being over 45 years old and being able to create internships because of its relationship to the government, to the city, to the community at large, we've been able to have internships in places such as the mayor's office, when the mayor, Matteo Renzi, was mayor, and then he became the prime minister of Italy. So the person who did it there, I think it was under communications, was able to get a bird's eye view of Italian bureaucracy. And as everybody should know, Italians invented bureaucracy. They still have quite a lot of it. So it really is a huge experience. I think every Italian would want to interview that person to know what the heck is going on in those offices. We've had students intern in schools, in our education program. We've had actual education programs come and visit all of the different levels of the school systems and interview students. All of these things aren't possible if you don't have a good working relationship with the city you're in. So luckily, having that, and LDM always participates in the community, whether it's in charitable events, whether it's opening up volunteer programs. So that really creates a nice opportunity to, again, be a part of the community you're in. And then we have the Two Italies program. Now, the Two Italies program is a very different type of program. First of all, it's a semester program. So the idea is that you're spending 6 weeks in Tuscania and 6 weeks in Florence. It's actually reversed, first Florence, then Tuscania. This can be very interesting from two perspectives. One of them is the course selection. Now, in the case of a semester or a short-term program, you basically, kind of like at home, you know, when you're registering for courses, you have a menu of courses, and you can choose the courses as long as you're eligible based on the prerequisites that fit your need and your interest. And of course, you'd want to work with your study abroad office at UB, and if necessary with the department, so that you get the proper approval. But you have the menu. With the Two Italies program, it's a more structured program because it has sort of a philosophy behind it. So the goal is to be able to know these two areas of Italy and to get to know its history, its language, and its culture, right? And that's why you have this particular selection that you'll see in front of you for the two areas. A lot of people in the US that are interested in Italian culture might want to take a look at this if it fits their needs academically, if they can entertain this program, because it's a great program that gives you the opportunity to live in two very different areas of Italy. People think of Italy in the US as, because it's a tiny boot, and it is, it's a tiny boot, but it's heavily populated, very heavily populated. If you look at populations in Europe, it's one of the heavier populated countries, but it's also a country that is very different depending on the region you're in, because Italy became a country after the US became the United States of America. It was all separate regions and areas. And that was basically like if they had their own country. Why do everybody knows about Italian dialects? Italian dialects exist because they were actually different languages in each area. And that difference in culture, you see it through the cuisine, through the language, through the dialect, which Italian is universally the language of the country, but that, you know, some still speak, some areas still speak, and just the way they live. There are some differences. There's a lot of similarities, but there's definitely also some differences. So this gives you an opportunity to get a much truer view of what Italy is, rather than a more stereotypical view of Italy as just one country that's all the same. The next slide. Okay, this is instead what I was talking about, which is the program that is online. So for those students that would opt for the distance learning program, these are the courses that have been selected in order, because to offer through the distance learning program. The reason they've been selected is that they're particularly good for a distance learning program, which means that there are some courses that might not fare as well or give you this a particular experience. These courses definitely are structured so that you have an international experience, even though you're not here. We all prefer for students to be here in person, I'll be honest, but I think that if you cannot come here for a number of reasons, or COVID, you know, if the restriction is there, I think that if you're looking for an international experience, I do think these are very valid opportunities that can really enrich you in any case. So I would, you know, take a look at these. These are all on our website. So you can find all this information on our website through the UB website, so that, you know, you can take a look and see if it's something that might be of interest to you. I think the next page is still glimpse. Yes. So you see there's still different areas of study that are offered through Glimpse of Italy. And again, it is offered both for semester and for short term. Now, we also have these special certificate programs, or semester and year certificate programs. These are a bit different in that they're very subject centered. So this would be for students who want to particularly hone in on one area of study and not pick again from the menu. And there will be courses you can pick on those as well, but it's much more structured, and it focuses on those areas of study. So if you think that might be something that interests you, we offer those as well, that you can definitely see what courses are involved and look at that as yet another option for semester and year-long study abroad. And then we actually have a new, because we had students that were interested in certificate programs, but either could not come for a full semester, or they could not concentrate on just one area for that amount of time. Truth be told, we've had people even come for the year-long certificate and semester certificates, even post-graduation, once they knew maybe they wanted to go in a certain area of study to boost their college portfolio. You know, I had a student, for example, in the SUNY system that wanted to go to Buff State Restoration master's program, which is very, very competitive, and they were looking at our restoration as a way to boost their ability to get in. That's to give you an example. But what by offering summer certificates, I think we're able to offer students who want to concentrate in one area but can't really afford academically, meaning they need to tend to other courses, to concentrate in one area of study, but in a short-term period, so that they're not sacrificing the rest of the semester for one area of study. I think that it's a great opportunity, especially if you have a particular interest in any of these areas that we offer for the certificate program. So I encourage you, if you're interested in the summer, to look at these as well. So you'll see we have the June, the July, and the full summer, meaning that, you know, you would be taking advantage of both sessions in that case. And I'm sorry, I don't know if you saw it in the previous, sorry, Maria, in the previous, LdM offers a grant to all students who enroll in the summer certificate program. But you have to be a qualified recipient. And for the certificate programs, you do have to see what the prerequisites are. But since we're launching it, we're also giving a grant as a part of launching the program. Sorry, Maria, thank you. Okay, now housing in Florence and Tuscania. Housing in Florence and Tuscania, it has the same premise. So as I said previously, our campuses are in the cities themselves, because again, the idea is that you are living in the city and being a resident of that city, even if it's or town for that short amount of time. So your campus, your buildings are in the city, but your housing is as well. So the idea is that for the apartment option is that LdM rents apartments both in Tuscania and in Florence. Now, this is a well-oiled machine. It's not that LdM rents it, I'm sorry. To better explain it, LdM is in contact with landlords that rent these apartments cyclically. And what LdM does is they inspect the apartments, because all apartments in Florence and in Tuscania are different, because this is not a building, this is not a dorm. This is literally you living in an apartment in Florence or in Tuscania. So we inspect the apartment to make sure that it is up to our standards. So the size might be different. So you might have an apartment for 2 people, apartment for 4 people, apartment for 6 people. Obviously, an apartment for 6 people will have more bathrooms. We'll have more than one bathroom, you know, and it's proportional, but all of the apartments have to meet the same standard. So while they're different, they do have to have these qualifications. We rent the apartments furnished and with basic amenities, so pots and pans, utensils, sheets, towels. You know, you're not expected, obviously, to go ransack Target and bring it with you to your apartment. You have all of the basic amenities that are in that apartment. So it's fully furnished and it has these amenities for you. What is a shared student apartment? Again, it's an apartment that is in either Tuscania or Florence. And shared means that you share a bedroom with one other person. We don't put more than 2 people per bedroom. We do have the possibility of a single if you request it for a small extra fee. And the living area is in common. So your kitchen, your living room, where you eat, you know, the table, that's in common, but the bedroom is a double bedroom. And the same goes for Tuscania. Then we have also in Tuscania, you can have the option of a single room on a first come first serve basis if you're interested. Most students do the double occupancy, because it is a max of 2 students, and frankly, you don't pay the extra fee. But if you need a single room, you know, you can, we send out, in the housing office sends out all this information so that they get a good sense of what your needs are, your personality. In fact, and so that's where you might want to say, look, you're looking for a single room for these reasons. So aside from the extra fee, they can try to give precedence to those who need it most. But since most do request the double shared bedroom in the shared apartment, the housing office does a terrific job of matching students. In fact, I always jokingly call them Match.com, only they have a much higher success rate than Match.com. Because to be honest, while you have to excuse me, my dog is barking. Hold on. Sorry about that. Working remotely has these issues. So what that means is that they give you a profile that you fill in, and that you put in different aspects of your personality, and they try to match people. Sometimes they're able to put UB students together. Sometimes they match them based on other aspects of their personality. And really, a great majority of the time, they're very successful. If there were to be some issues, we have advisors, which I'll get to, which help out and everything, but they really do have a high success rate in matching students there. And that is the same for Tuscania as if for Florence. It's the same exact dynamic. The plus side of this is that although the apartments are rented through landlords, and of course we have an ongoing relationship with them, you always have our assistance if there's any issues with the apartment, your washing machine breaks or whatever the case may be. The other opportunity that you can have, and this is also for a select amount, so you'd have to request it early on, is a homestay. So a homestay is for those that would like to live with an Italian family, and an Italian family can be very varied. It could be a single mom. It could be a traditional Italian family. It could be a family whose kids have grown up, and so they have room to have other students. They may have other students, kids the age of the students. There's a variety, but they're handpicked and selected, and we've used them for years. So they're not that many, but the ones we do have, we know we can count on for a positive experience. Your meals are included. I think breakfast and dinner is included because you're out during the day for lunch. You have a little bit of a responsibility to let them know if you're going to be there for dinner or not. But the students that have done the family stay have really, really enjoyed it. It's certainly a different cultural immersion. And many of them stay in contact with the families they lived with after they've left. So it's up to you. That really, the homestay or the apartment is really, is really up to what you feel more comfortable with. But you do have these options for housing. And the next is student services. Okay, so LdM prides itself greatly on its services. What does that mean? That students have a lot of support. So we have student advisors, and I think they are amazing, to be honest. They're basically, I call it very practically a sort of one-stop shop philosophy. What does that mean? It means that when we have a housing office, we have, the professors, we have a psychologist, we have a person, all different areas of expertise or different offices, much like any university. But because you're at LdM for a short period of time, the idea is that you don't have to go crazy looking for the office that you need, but rather you have one person that is assigned to you, an advisor, that are very well qualified and very empathetic. They have to have very particular characteristics in order to be an advisor, and they happen to be special people. They create a wonderful relationship with the students, and they are a go-to person. So the idea is when you get there, UB will be assigned, the students of UB will assign to an advisor. That advisor will follow you through for the time that you're at LdM. So that if you have any issue, whether you're having trouble in a class and want to know if there's tutoring available, whether your washing machine broke, you don't have to go to the housing office. You can tell the advisor and they'll look into it. Whether you are feeling blue, you're homesick, you're having some issues, they can get in touch with the therapist that is on hand at LDM. Whether you are seeking medical service because you're not feeling well, well, you'll be getting all of this information at orientation. So you have someone that you can count on, so much so that they have a 24/7 emergency phone line that they rotate. So no matter what, you always have the ability to contact someone at LDM if you were to have a serious issue. We have through UB, you have health insurance. As I said, we have doctors that we are connected with in both campuses. When you get to LDM, we do a very in-depth orientation, very in-depth. So I think by the time you finish the orientation, you pretty much know both places where you are pretty well, and the school. There's a library, there's a mail service if you need things to be mailed to you. There's an LDM gallery in Florence for art. So we have a lot going on at both campuses and a lot of support. Extracurricular activities. Okay, part of the experience is having these extracurricular activities. Extracurricular activities are done both in Florence and Tuscania. They're activities that are either completely free or for a nominal cost. Like if they're going to the opera to see a football game, there might be a minimal cost, not the cost necessarily of the ticket, but in order to reserve the spots. But most of them are actually free. They fill up very fast. They're wonderful, to say the least, and they're usually offered multiple times during the week. And sometimes on alternate Saturdays for those students that aren't going away. And they really are good about doing a lot of things that students, not only that you want to do in that area, but also that students might not do if they were just tourists. So that's something I would encourage to take advantage of. It's also a way to get to know the other students that are with you, and to get to know the area you're in, because sometimes not only do you get to see aspects of the place you're in, like Tuscania or Florence, the pictures that you see here are actually the one of the Etruscan tomb is Tuscania, and the one of the market is Florence, with the famous pig's nose, which now through COVID, I have a feeling is not going to happen anymore, that they used to touch for good luck financially. In fact, his snout is worn out. But you get to do all of these things, and you only really have to sign up. I just caution to do it quickly if you do come, because they do fill up rather fast. In Tuscania, they even go on Lago Bolsena. There's a beautiful lake nearby. They go hiking. In Florence, they've gone to the oldest pharmacy on how to, or learned how to make gelato. It really runs the gamut. And then clubs. So this is for semester programs, not for summer, because summer we have activities for both, but summer is a shorter amount of time, so it's hard to be part of a club. And we have all of these different clubs. We have the ceramic club, we have the artistic jewelry club, the yoga club, the museum visits, the food and cooking club. For example, that one's a great club because it's a club that where some students would like to take a course, a culinary course, but it might not transfer over for them in their field of study. Well, this gives you an opportunity maybe to do a little bit of cooking, even though you're not taking a full course. So that's certainly something that's popular. We have the Arcobaleno Club, which supports the LGBTQ community. And actually, about that, I just, my daughter's in middle school in Italy, and they have civics, which is great. They do a lot of stuff. And one of her research was on LGBTQ rights in Italy and all that has grown. And Florence, I did not know this, but Florence in the Renaissance and Middle Ages was the first place that there was actually a movement against the church that was were persecuting anybody that was considered gay. So it's interesting about Florence. I just learned that. So we have that as well. So we have all of these different clubs, whatever is interesting to you that might enhance your experience in Italy, might be good. So, and last but not least, the weekend excursions. Now, the weekend excursions are not included in the cost, and that's actually a good thing, because while I can tell you I know who does the weekend excursions, the professors, etc., and they are not only extremely informative and fun, but they really do create these excursions, these weekend excursions, opportunities that are not as easy for you to maybe develop on your own. Having said that, some students come with very clear ideas of what they want to do in their free time. So the weekend excursions are wonderful. I recommend them, but they're not included in the cost. So it's up to you whether you want to sign up for them or not. And I believe that they give you information at orientation, but you might even be able to get information before that if you were interested in signing up. So the next steps, I mean, the most important thing is, of course, to talk to your study abroad office. I happen to know that your study abroad office is awesome. I'm not saying that, it really is. It's a great office. They're very helpful. And so that's the first step always, because I think that you need to follow their lead and their guidance, because they know what UB students need to do in order, step by step, in order to get to the, to select courses and all of the other things that need to be done to study abroad in general. And if you have any questions, of course, we're in touch with Karen, and we're happy to, I'll put my email as well in the chat. We're happy to, answer any questions that are related to LDM or to Florence or to Tuscania that are not UB specific, because that you would need Karen for. I also want to mention briefly that these are some great comments from actually UB students. Some of them are UB students, but no, they're all UB students, which is great. I also want to mention that we have stayed open throughout COVID. The reason why I mention that is I know we all have so much anxiety because of COVID. And so I just want to say that when SUNY students will be able to travel again, I hope that it's comforting to know that because we did stay open through the pandemic, we are very in tune with the safety and security measures that are needed to follow all protocols that are necessary to keep you as safe as possible during this time. So we have had students here, and we've been successful in assisting them throughout both the fall, and now we're in the spring semester, throughout this pandemic. I don't know, Karen, if we have the video at the end, if there's time. If not, we can. You tell me, Karen.
I think we do have enough time. I know with the video, then we'll have about 30 minutes still left for Q&A.
Excuse me?
Afterwards. No, yeah, I think we should have enough time, and then after we finish up with that, we'll have time for Q&A still.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'll let you watch this video. Aside from hopefully you feeling better once you're able to come to see that we've set up the protocols, you also get to see a little bit of the Florence campus for the most part here, because that was the one that was open during the pandemic.
Sono Marcello Bevignani, sono il responsabile della sicurezza dell'Istituto Lorenzo de Medici. In questi mesi ci siamo occupati a tempo e a ritmo pieno per quanto riguarda la sicurezza del Covid. L'Istituto ha però deciso di creare un progetto di prevenzione che va ben oltre la sicurezza di base e che permette allo studente di usufruire liberamente di tutte le meravigliose strutture nel centro storico di Firenze. Anche in un momento delicato come quello che stiamo vivendo, crediamo sia importante per lo studente vivere un'esperienza che non sia solo formativa ma anche di vita. Come vedete, ogni front desk è dotato di plexiglass di protezione con gli operatori. Inoltre, tutte le persone che accedono all'interno delle scuole vengono sottoposte al controllo della temperatura. Devono inoltre igienizzarsi le mani per accedere al proprio posto assegnato. Nelle attività didattiche della scuola ci sono alcune aule che sono promiscue. In questo caso abbiamo identificato con dei segni ben distintivi di colori e anche di numerazioni le attività che si diversificano per rendere sicuri tutti i discenti durante le loro attività. Nonostante le distanze siano previste di 1 metro, all'interno della scuola, in tutte le aule didattiche, vengono mantenute ampiamente. Tutti gli studenti sono dotati di dispositivi di protezione individuali e non viene consentito di spostarsi durante le lezioni. I professori controllano gli studenti nelle fasi di accesso, durante le lezioni e in uscita per il rispetto di tutte le procedure di sicurezza previste. Nel laboratorio orafo vengono forniti a ciascuno studente un proprio kit personale che utilizzano durante la didattica per poi essere riposto all'interno degli armadi ed essere sanificato prima del loro riutilizzo. Mentre ogni aula è dotata di 2 contenitori distinti e ben segnalati, di cui un contenitore per quelli da disinfettare e l'altro per quelli disinfettati. La disinfezione delle attrezzature e degli utensili viene effettuata sia prima del loro utilizzo sia durante il loro passaggio tra uno studente e l'altro con alcol al 94% e sulle superfici solide con ipoclorito di sodio allo 0,5%. Tutti gli impianti di immissione dell'aria vengono trattati con sanificanti per la disinfezione degli ambienti. In tutte le scuole la segnaletica orizzontale è ben evidente, delinea i percorsi sia in entrata che in uscita. I segnali identificativi permettono di mantenere le distanze a 2,30 m, oltre il doppio previsto per legge. Ma soprattutto nell'ampio salone di lettura abbiamo degli spazi che consentono agli studenti di lavorare e di studiare tranquillamente in sicurezza sia per le distanze ma soprattutto anche per la sanificazione che è stata effettuata per il microclima ambientale. All'interno gli studenti possono stazionare a lungo e permette a loro appunto di studiare in tutta serenità. Nella biblioteca gli addetti provvedono ad assicurare le rigide indicazioni previste nel nostro protocollo di sicurezza nel totale rispetto della legge. I libri consegnati agli studenti e così anche per la lettura avviene con l'uso dei guanti nitrile monouso per evitare ogni possibile contagio e alla riconsegna gli addetti provvedono a riporli negli appositi contenitori per la quarantena. Anche le toilette hanno a disposizione il sanificante e disinfettante, in questo caso l'ipoclorito di sodio per sanificare e disinfettare i sanitari. Vicino ad ogni computer si può trovare un flacone di alcol al 94% che permette agli studenti di poter sanificare la propria tastiera e il proprio mouse.
Hello everyone, my name is Ambra Balzani and I'm part of the advising team here at LdM Florence. As advisor, our main goal is to assist our students and to help them and support them throughout their whole stay here. But safety is always our top priority. We start taking care of our students since the very first moment that they get here, and in case they are required to self-isolate, LdM advising team is there for them. We video call them so that we can chat a little bit and start to get to know each other even before we meet in person. In case students need any item or they're missing anything, the advisors can provide them with whatever they are missing and bring it over to their self-isolation location. And of course, in case there's any emergency outside of the office hours, there's always the LdM emergency phone that it's available for students 24/7. Whenever the quarantine is over, students can reach out to their advisor by making an appointment and come meet with them in their office, or they can send them an email, call them, or chat with them, or video call them in case they prefer to do so. In case students are sick or have flu-like symptoms and need medical assistance, the advisor can facilitate this process, providing them with an English-speaking doctor that also is available for home visits in case students are too sick to go to the clinic. Also, we have counseling and service available for our students, and also a psychiatrist is available on site.
Hi, I'm Elena, an LdM housing coordinator. In order to have the most efficient precautions to minimize the risk of any possible contagion, we decide to limit the number of students sharing common areas like bathroom, kitchen, and living room. Therefore, students will be housed in single room within 2 up to 4 beds apartments. Apartments will be professionally cleaned on a weekly basis. Additionally, apartments will be furnished with sanitizing products like sodium hypochlorite and alcohol for the daily cleaning. Additionally, students will be instructed on the best practices regarding the sanitizing of apartments, with particular attention to bathrooms and common areas.
Hi, I'm Marcia Steinberg, the professor of the Color Theory course, and I'm very happy to be working in presence with my students, as they are also happy to be working in presence. And I want to thank the school for having created all of this highest, strongest security factor to make us feel tranquil and calm and to learn together. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tegan O'Connor, and I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I'm a student here at LdM, and this semester I have the opportunity to do an internship in the art gallery. After learning about art in the classroom, I have the chance to communicate with contemporary artists here in Florence, as well as the studio art students at LdM. During this difficult time, we will be doing an exhibition that will take place online in order to share the artworks and communicate about them with members of the community.
We tend to think of art as pieces in museums or commercial galleries, but in fact, creativity goes beyond that, because creativity is a way of being in the world. And obviously, artists, especially visual artists, the way they express themselves is through the production of images and material artifacts. They are providing us a great opportunity to understand what is going on from their own perspective. So I think in spite of the difficulties, we can still find beauty in the way we are connected through different projects.